Hello, hello. Welcome to the Eddie Conversation podcast. My name is Eddie Vigil, and I am your host. I am a filmmaker living in Los Angeles, California. This is episode number 58. Joining me today is Jessica Liu.
Hi everyone. Hi
Yes,
Eddie, thanks for inviting me to your podcast.
happy to have you on. Lovely day.
Mhm.
So let me just give some. Okay, you are a writer, director,
Mhm.
filmmaker. We have been on set together a couple of times now, which is
Oh
very
yeah.
cool,
Mhm.
and we'll get into some of that. I do want to highlight up off the top. Okay, okay. I'm still experimenting with this podcast format. I never know how to introduce people, so we're gonna practice. This is the basic intro. I don't like doing it this way, but I think it's
Mhm.
solid. If you don't mind, for the people at home who are less familiar with you, maybe a potential quick intro on yourself,
Mhm.
and I guess maybe like the type of films you like to make.
Sounds good. So as Eddie mentioned, I am a director, writer, and overall filmmaker. I've created a few shorts, such as Orange Dreams, which was a coming of age short film set in the early 2000s with a lot of elements from that time, such as AOL Instant Messenger and what life was like in middle school. So, the heightened experience with, your hormones going crazy and things like that, as well as Prom Time, which was a film that used a lot of magical realism and dealt with an Asian American female experience and how desires or experiences can get passed down from mother to daughter. And it also involves a accidental drug trip by the mother on Chinese medicine. And currently, I'm working on a couple of feature projects, such as an anthology project and a upcoming dark comedy feature film. So I would say, in terms of types of projects, I definitely like to play with different genres as well as add in a little bit of dark comedy here and there.
Love it. Yes, you're very well practiced on the bio there. I love it. It's great. Cool. Yeah, so we'll dig into some of those past films
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff for sure. Talking process, talking potential inspirations, and and that sort of thing from the director perspective. I want to talk about.
Mhm.
But for now, I want to start with a big. This is we'll kind of talk about what's kind of going on right now. I think is what the people are looking to.
Oh,
I don't
okay,
know.
only right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
right now. So, you mentioned the anthology
Mhm.
feature. This feature is called Through the
Through the
Blinds.
blinds. Mhm.
Great syncing up there. I love that. Through the Blinds, an anthology feature film of intimate stories that take place over 7 decades under one roof. 7 women directors are on a mission to tell stories of underrepresented communities.
Mhm.
So, my understanding, yeah, through the decades. So, um, I want to know about everything for sure.
Mhm.
First of all, we could talk about your story that you are bringing to the anthology. I think would maybe could be a good place to start.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically seven short stories, all like you mentioned, starting from the 50s to modern day. The last segment happens pre-pandemic in 2019,
Mm.
and my segment is in the 80s, and it is another coming of age story. However, it's definitely a bit darker than anything I've done before. It's more so a thriller about so to set the scene, there is a potential serial killer on the loose who has been abducting young girls throughout this neighborhood. And we follow the story of two sisters. One who is just starting to, develop her sexuality, and that's kind of tearing apart their relationship because this youngest sister actually may potentially be on the autism spectrum, which also ties into the fact that, during the 80s, it wasn't really a well mental health or even different types of ways of acknowledging autism wasn't exactly, well, it was very taboo. Let's just put it that way. Even more so than now, which luckily, we're able to talk about these things and just bring light to them. So that's kind of the gist of my segment of this story.
Okay, wonderful. So, when thinking of the full anthology as a whole, I guess I'm curious to know more about the project in
Mm-hmm.
general too, like how this project came together, um, how the concept came about, and then whether or not like you had this story in your back pocket and then it kind of fit within the framework, or if it was developed after everybody was like, I'll take the 80s and I'll take the
Right, right.
2010s. Like I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, how did that all play out?
Yeah, that's very good questions. Actually, another side note was when I told the other directors about this podcast, they were like, "Oh, maybe if he would welcome us, it'd be cool to have like all seven directors on this
Oh my
podcast."
word. 100%. Let's do it.
But yeah, getting back to your questions, so five of us actually met at a workshop through the Alliance of Women Directors, and it was a Directing the Actors workshop. And after that workshop, we got together just to hang out and catch up at a potluck. And one of the directors, Rebecca Lewisell, was saying at the potluck, like, this could be a pretty cool idea because we all have made shorts and, like, have been in indie filmmaking and done a lot of cool things, but we haven't made a feature yet. Uh, any one of us at this point, and we decided let's all try to partner up and help each other and support each other to make a feature. And that's pretty much how the idea started. And later on, we invited two filmmakers to make it a team of seven.
Okay. So, um there was five thinking about the potluck event. So there's five of you at the potluck event,
Hmm.
potentially more people that weren't directors. Maybe it was all just all I'm trying to
Well, it was the whole class, which was like I think
okay.
not like eight or nine people. Well, I think one of the directors couldn't make it; she was busy. But we asked everyone, and just the ones who were able to do this kind of thing were like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah. Okay. No, that sounds great. So, when it was decided that you would all team up to you you would all unite to create this anthology piece. How did the concept was there further conversation on when you all started pitching each other's ideas and figured out how they went
Mm-hmm.
hand in hand and how the decades thing would work? How did that
Yeah,
all
that
start?
was pretty interesting. So once, she mentioned like, let's make something an anthology, then people started chiming in, like saying, how can we make this, in a way that, like, I guess like our producer mindsets kind of kicked into, like, what would be an actual feasible way. So we thought of like, maybe sharing a location, and then the idea of filming all the segments in one location, basically under one roof, came about. And
Mm,
also, then it was like, okay, we could show through time, like through the decades. And that was kind of a cool way to, split it up and also kind of honor like how each director has a different style. Like, we're not all, horror directors or comedy directors. So that was like I think a pretty cool way to like, just change it up and be like we can work together but also show our own individual styles as well.
okay, no, that's awesome. totally forgot about the same room thing.
Oh,
The
same
the same
house.
house
Yeah.
premise.
Mm-hmm.
Because are you familiar with that Mark Duplass show?
Oh, room 104, right?
Room 104.
Yeah.
Had to look it up for Google. I was trying to get it before, but you knew what it was. Okay. No, that's awesome. I think that's like probably that's super cool. No, yeah.
Oh
Excited.
yeah, and sorry, one thing
Go for it.
was that now that you mentioned Mark Duplass donated to our
Oh
campaign.
yeah, that's so cool. I did
Yeah.
see that post and I'm like, "Oh
Mhm.
my gosh,
Yeah,
Mark
we're
Duplass."
still in shock.
No,
Mhm.
that's cool. That's very cool. Thank you, Mark
Oh,
Duplass,
thank you,
for
Mark, and
supporting.
thanks for watching and tuning into this podcast every week. He's a big fan of the podcast.
Yes, it's true. I was gonna. All right. Jeez. Okay. Yes, I was gonna say I don't have much experience with the anthology. I'll call it an anthology genre. I don't really
Mhm.
feel like it's a genre. It's more of a
Like
structure.
yeah, like a format or structure.
Yeah, but that I love. Okay, because I know when I hear anthology, I know I hear horror short anthology is kind of common.
Mm-hmm.
So they're linked together by the genre itself. Is like you just show up and you go to the festival and you watch the thing and you got to get a bunch of different little horror shorts throughout the
Mm-hmm.
thing. But I don't think there's much more that ties it in. So I just like that this anthology specifically is tied together in multiple ways with I'm very curious to see how the location plays out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious to see because I mean the cool thing about like Room 104 was that was Mark Duplass's whole that was the or Duplass brothers, I don't know who put that, but was the premise for that show is
Like
it's
every like I think well I watched a few
yeah.
basic have you watched it
Yeah,
or
I've seen I know I got in yeah, I've seen yes.
like here a few episodes here
Yeah.
and there. Yeah, I mean for that I think it's just things that take place in that specific hotel room. But it seems like they were pretty much all horrific things.
Mm.
Like I remember one was like an alien had nested inside of a guy. Did you see that one?
I don't know if I saw that one,
Oh.
but I do know I don't know, the ones that come to mind for me where they weren't all there was like a I guess like an unsettled vibe is usually a part of the show. Like
Mhm.
there was one
Yeah.
where I guess okay, what I was trying to say was that the concept of it is you can literally have one set
Mhm.
and due to the creative process and the different creatives involved, you can transform this rinky dink motel room
Mhm.
into infinite possibilities of story.
Oh
And they're
yeah.
going to all
Mhm.
look different. They're all
Mhm.
going to feel different. They're all going to play different. And that was kind of the concept of the show
Mhm.
was keeping it producible and
Yeah.
giving that variety. So that's the same thing. I'm assuming that was going on here. Is we need it
Mhm.
to be producible. We want to give
Mhm.
variety, and here we
Yeah.
are. No, it's awesome. I love that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a
I think
question, but
yeah, I mean, I think that's also like part of indie filmmaking like which I'm sure, Eddie, you are very very experienced in like kind of working with your resources and just
hmm
seeing like instead of seeing your limitations as like, oh, we can't do anything. We only have one location, but getting creative and thinking, what can we do with just one location?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, the no, I know that's definitely the world I've lived in since
Hmm.
I got started. So
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with.
I'm definitely always impressed like whenever I see Eddie on set, which has only been twice, but just seeing like wow, how much you can uh take not only take on set but also like I think it's really cool how you can be very in the moment and kind of think like okay, problem solve while also thinking about like how is the talent doing, how like checking in with people So like having that mindset of like, because I've seen him wear many hats at once, like being the AD, of course, script supervisor, as well as doing sound sometimes and helping with camera, but also thinking about like not only the technical side, but even like the personable side. So that's really cool, and I think that's part of indie filmmaking.
Yes, thank you. Yes. No, we just came off of I don't know. I want to stick on the anthology thing
Oh
right now,
yeah.
but no, for sure we can get. No, we just yeah, you came out to assist on the art side
Hmm.
for a nice little 1 day short, so that was very cool that you came out for that. And maybe we'll talk more about that in a bit. I like to take deep breaths before I jump into a question because I get
Oh
overwhelmed
yeah, no
instantly.
worries.
Okay, so um, thinking about through the blinds here. Uh, for those that are less familiar with the filmmaking process, or maybe even for those that are familiar, um, you guys, you gals,
Mhm.
the team
Mhm.
is looking for the Ask. It's being hosted through Seed and
Seed and
Spark,
Spark, yes.
and we'll
Mhm.
have links in the description to find the campaign. It is live through
Until March 24th. Mhm.
March 24th. We are currently March 1st.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
nice. Yeah, as of now, it's a little over 60%. So thank you so much, everyone who's supported us thus far.
Lovely. So through March 24th, that's essentially 3-ish weeks left to go from the recording of this show here. Where I guess what I was going to ask was what, how, okay, crowdfunding. This is like a crowdfunding question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I recall, because we talked about this a little bit the other day, was this is your first time through the crowdfunding process.
Mm-hmm.
What was the amount that was decided that you all are looking for to be able to produce a project, and how did you come to the number? Where's the money going? That's kind of helpful for people who are considering jumping on board to help make it happen.
Oh yeah, definitely. So this campaign is actually for us to kickstart us into pre-production, and what we're currently raising is our goal is 30K, and we actually have, as of now, a little over 18K just within like less than a week. So we were actually really shocked and very grateful for that. But we came up with that number basically like uh by talking to our producers. We have a couple of awesome producers involved, and being Kate Tuxford uh, and one of our other producers who goes by Renzo. They're both really awesome. But so basically, there's a little breakdown, like a pie chart on our site. But off
Hmm.
of the top of my head, we're using the funding to go towards locations as well as securing talent. Like if we were to, find talent that may have some sort of, I guess, like experience in the specific topics or roles that we're looking for, and a little bit of not as interesting things like insurance and attaching a line producer to basically help us keep moving forward with all the technical things that a larger project like this involves, since we actually have 7 different stories. So it's kind of interesting because it's kind of like having 7 shorts. Like we may possibly have to have 7 different crews or various producers for each of the segments.
Okay, so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that is still a little bit up in the air with
Mm-hmm.
how it's gonna be tackled, logistically speaking, crew wise. All right, that makes sense. Very interesting. Yes, because yeah, as it is location based, that does make sense. Where
Hmm.
when you secure the location, I was thinking in my mind as you were talking, I'm like, all right, seven projects. I don't know what the length of each project. How many pages?
Well, they're about give or take on average like 15 for each. Like some are a little bit more, a little bit less.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yes. That is definitely a lot of filming.
Oh yeah.
That's a lot of filming.
Hmm.
And you need the same location that whole time.
Right,
So is the
right.
current thought they're all going to be shot back to back and I'm assuming trying to make it as efficient as possible.
Yeah, that's I mean that's still something we're gonna have to work out, but
Hmm.
um as of now we're definitely going to, once we hopefully secure the funds, find a fitting location and then try to really like utilize our time there and hopefully be able to shoot in a streamlined way. However, we're going to also have to have time in between to like redress
Yeah.
everything, like from the 80s to the 90s. Things will change a lot between decades.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm assuming that the okay, I don't want to spoil too much about I don't know much about the story at all, but I'm assuming that it's not the same family doesn't carry from story to story. It's not
Uh,
like
no,
the
it's
granddaughter in the 2010s is was the grandmother was in the 70s or anything like that.
well,
Or
it's
maybe they're
it's
wrong.
mostly different families except for the last two. The early 2000s to present day, there is a tie from that. Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
very cool. Okay, great. So you emphasize, all right, I guess just to clarify, you mentioned that the reaching once you clear not 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 air quotes. I wanted fingers crossed. Once you clear the seed and spark um ask,
Campaign. Uh-huh.
you can jump into pre,
Hmm.
and then is that meant to carry you through production as well, or is there another funding phase coming? Or is that the full? I don't. How does that work?
Well, well, I mean, to be honest, like I can't really say like exactly
Mm-hmm.
the strategy, but we're hoping that, with this crowdfunding, with the support of everyone, as I mentioned, it will help us go into pre-production where we will also be able to have to set up talks with like different people who may be able to help us, like investors, or maybe put an executive producer on it, and just that will hopefully help us go to the next stage and kind of also showcase like something that I've heard and learned is that when you put in a bit of like your own money or shown like, oh look, we have X amount of supporters that want to see this movie and actually contributed, that helps to kind of get more people involved to make it happen.
Yes, that makes perfect sense.
Hmm.
And that, yes, no, it's great. Love it, love it. I was thinking about I know that's a route that I've gone through the crowdfunding phase that you're going through right now.
Hmm.
I did that for my first feature, which I made,
Um,
I forget. I don't know if you know how much money I made my first feature for.
I think you said, well, am I allowed to say it on
Sure, yeah, yeah, it's
16K, right?
less.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I had a film community in Reno before I moved to
Mm.
LA,
Oh,
and
okay.
I chugged around there for a while, and I held off on crowdfunding through all that time. And then when I moved to
Mhm.
Los Angeles and I wanted to make my first feature, I launched a campaign, and I'm like, whatever I get, I'm gonna make the movie because
Mm, mhm.
that's that's it's a
Well,
lot of work.
yeah. Well, what was your goal before you tell us the
Oh,
amount?
I set a goal. Okay, my thing was how my experience in filmmaking has largely been kind of what we just came off of. It's like volunteer based single day productions where it's
Mhm.
just like a passion project and everybody's getting experience. You're treating people nice, you're
Mhm.
feeding them, and you're just, you're getting some reps in, you're
Mhm.
experimenting and stuff. Um, so I was very confident in my ability to get some stuff done with little for little money,
Mhm.
and trying to make it worth everybody's time on however I could make that work. So I had a friend that had been through the crowdfunding process. He had raised, I think, around 80K for
Oh
his
wow.
feature. That was a sci-fi one that needed the budget.
Mhm.
And his advice to me was set your initial ask at the very bare minimum of like what you need to make this thing. So I did some math in my head, and I'm like, okay, I know I can find people. I know I can get this thing done. I just have to be able to like feed people for an extended period of time, afford to pay for, some production design and such costumes and a few things like that. But I'm like, all right, I could put this together for like $5,000.
Oh my god. Wow.
Was in my head was I can do this for 5K, and I can figure out a way. That's all I need. If you can give me
Mhm.
that, I can make it happen.
Mhm.
So I set it at 5K with ambitions to clear that quite easily and then go above that. So
Mhm.
my challenge was, I mean, we hit 5K pretty quickly, and then it was confusing going to the page and seeing that we hit our goal. So I had to start telling people, it's like, I know it says we're done, but we're not done. We want to get the next whatever the next goal. Because like even if like this could easily clear, you can hit 30.
Right,
You can
right.
raise more than the ask.
Yeah.
So we broke 12K by the end of it.
Oh, awesome. More
Um,
than doubled it.
yeah, so did it for 12K, crazy times. So but it was, I would say, I know it's all very ambitious no matter what. I was going to say that this
Mhm.
project's more ambitious because there's more to juggle and more creatives and more stories to tell, but it's
Mhm.
all hard no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, even as you mentioned, like you were thinking of like you can make it for 5K. Like there's also a lot of in-kind stuff that
For sure.
technically, isn't added to the budget, but is also part of it. So,
100%.
yeah.
If everybody was getting paid
Mhm.
what they could have been getting paid, then you're probably spending like 150 grand on the same thing. It's just the difference is people got paid. So in my case, it was more of like I had never directed a feature, which of course the directors are always the ones. But it's easy for a director to have passion in the project because it's the story. The DP had never DP'd a feature.
Mhm.
The lead
Mhm.
actor had never, led.
Uh-huh.
Uh, put money towards sound because you're not going to get sound for free.
Right, right.
All that kind of stuff. So it
Mhm.
was very piecemeal. It was crazy.
Mhm.
It's crazy, everybody.
It was it's what's on the inside, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it came out really well. It's very, very well done. You guys have to check it out if you haven't seen it already, but you probably have.
No. Thank you, thank you. You're great at plugging the. That's great. It's what's on the inside's available now. Amazon Prime Video. I think it's on Vudu. It's also on Tubi. It's also on Fandango now. It's in a few random. Who knows? It's around. Yeah, that came out last year. I
Mhm.
shot it in 2019. Quite the process.
Wow.
I edited it myself too.
Oh my goodness.
Saving on that money, people. Great. I want to jump into. We talked about the anthology. Okay, so I guess maybe to close us off from there, you mentioned the story. Um, how did Because I asked it a little bit earlier. I'm not sure if you answered the question or not, based on the decades, and how those were divvied out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, so those were kind of just I mean, whoever gravitated towards whatever decade, obviously first was like, oh yeah, I love, I don't know, the 60s or something. And I think for me, I kind of felt like, I wasn't really sure which decade, and the 80s were kind of open, but I'm pretty glad I got the 80s because it was yeah, I like love 80s music for some reason,
mhm.
and I feel like the 80s are kind of like a mini 1950s in a way, so I found that kind of interesting, along with just the rise like in media of like there was a lot of raunchy high school movies like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and like Heathers for dark comedy, which I really loved. And yeah, so I felt excited to do that, and especially I found it interesting because my parents, came to the U.S. in the '80s, so I was like, that's a cool thing to like be able to explore in that mindset, like what was life like during those times.
Yes. And have you done a period piece before?
Well, I did the early 2000s period piece, but it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing that
Yeah.
that's already a
Yeah.
period piece.
I guess in 1900s, 1800s. I guess pre 2000s period piece. Okay. Yeah, that is interesting. I know I've been on a couple projects as a script supervisor where um it's like early 2000s and they're talking about costumes. I'm like, I have no
Oh wow.
idea what I don't I'm like, is that
It
a was
hasn't
or is that
changed that much.
yeah, well, I
But
don't know. The phones are different. But
well, the rise of jeans are different. Low rise back then.
oh, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
now they're back up.
Yeah, exactly. It's always the rise of genes. That's how you can tell the time period
Hmm.
has changed.
Okay, noted, noted. And the width of the
Oh
bottoms of the
yeah.
jeans are helpful too.
Hmm.
I know nothing about costumes, but that sounds cool. I love, the 80s for sure. Like I'm already thinking about yeah, I guess my producer brain gets going with like, oh my word, it's gonna be like
Mm.
hair and
Oh,
costumes and
right.
production design are gonna be humongo.
Hmm.
That's like that sells
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, that gets me pretty excited. I actually really like, thinking about like production design and the art and, the costume and all these little details. I enjoyed thinking about that. So I think that will be fun. I mean, of course, that's also, a bit costly and can be tedious, but that will definitely be crucial for a period piece.
Mm. Yeah, it'll be different. It'll be fun.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. Let me see what question is next on the list. Crowdfunding. Yes, we talked briefly about that. Okay, all right. Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, crowdfunding is pretty interesting. I mean, at least to me, it just feels like an emotional roller coaster ride because I also basically was hesitant to do that up until now because I just feel like, it's definitely a lot of emotions, like super grateful when people contribute and sometimes even like, wow, I haven't talked to this person in a while and they actually, support this project. And yeah, it's just really a lot, but also like anxiety, like, is this going to even go well and everyone's going to see it? But I think that's also part of like filmmaking for me. It's like sometimes it can be like a bit challenging because, well, challenging in a good way because it's always like being very vulnerable, like putting yourself out there and you never know what's going to happen. And then you just keep doing it again.
It's giving me anxiety just thinking
Oh.
about it over here. Um, yeah, that's very well described. Yeah, okay. So you were kind of against it up until right now when
Well,
you
not
were like
against it, but I guess just
some
like,
resistance maybe, huh?
yeah, like doing it on my own. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do that. But then because I have these like six other wonderful friends and directors, like doing it together, I think helps a lot because it's like, yeah, we have like this Slack text that's just blowing up all the time, like, oh my god, do you see this happen, like this
Mm-hmm.
person donated whatever, and like all the emotions, like just being able to like share that with each other. I think that helped a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was gonna joke about how you were resistant to it until now when you see that it's working and now it's fun. And now it's like
Well,
great
if
idea.
it's taking off, then why not?
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah. I mean that is the scary that's yeah, the money stuff is always scary
Yeah.
because people. That's as a director, creative, trying to make stuff. People will be supportive. People could be supportive in many ways, which is the lovely part. But there's the part where it comes to like, all right, guys, I wanna level up and make my next thing. Who supports my next step in the journey? And then there's that unknown on if the money is gonna come for the next project, or
Mhm.
do people still believe in me? Because if they don't give money, do they believe? But
Right.
it's
Yeah, I mean, it's
all
not only money, like, even anyone sharing it or being
yeah.
like, wow, like, even commenting, like, this is really cool what you're doing. I think because, yeah, I mean, for me personally, even someone like reaching out to me and being like, oh, I watched one of your films and really enjoyed it, or even had a question, whatever, that already makes me feel like really just grateful that someone watched and felt interested in it, and I think that's all you can really ask for.
I agree. I agree. And yet it's still scary. No, yeah, I mean, that's I guess that's what I had meant when there's many ways to support an artist is
Hmm.
watching their stuff,
Yeah.
reaching out and saying you watched their stuff is lovely. Saying that
Hmm.
you liked it is even genuinely is a nice thing to hear. Yeah, when and then there's yeah, and then I guess like the next level, which is unfortunate. Uh, well, yeah, like the crowdfunding space. Like I know when I was doing the crowdfunding, it's the weird like okay, all my hard work. Let's see. And now there's a monetary value attached
Hmm.
to all of this time I put into film, and what was all that worth? And it's like oh, there's a number 12,600. Whatever. Then it's like oh,
Uh,
that was what those 5 years were for, building the relationship that equated into this number. But then you have to disassociate from that. It's not really
yeah,
it's
yeah, it's not really the value of your all those experiences and stuff. I mean, it could also just be like the project itself, like just that project, like if people will
yeah.
find it interesting or something.
Maybe it's all tricky.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're going through that. It's going for another while. Reminder, link in bio. Great. Next, I know you brought a couple of stuff. Did we want to jump into one of your questions, or should I jump into something else here?
Uh, well, what questions do you have?
I'm not gonna
Let's.
I'm not gonna spoil it. Because we can talk about your upcoming feature following this project. We could
Mhm.
talk about um, finding your mentor person that you reference. Maybe there's no mentor.
Oh yeah. I mean, yes, I definitely have some questions and various things we can talk
All right,
about.
let's try one of yours
I
and
mean, I
we'll
like
do
your
a little.
questions too, but uh
We have time for all of it.
okay. I mean, yeah, I think I don't know. Well, mine are pretty open-ended, I guess. I
Hmm.
just put like the craft of directing and how it happened slash challenges or joys, writing process and challenges, stories about filmmaking, um and also like inspiring movies or shows, which I think you also have that topic.
All right, you want to pick one?
It's your podcast.
No, you pick.
Okay. Well, let's see. I mean, I think it could be interesting to talk about like writing and directing because it's kind of it can be connected but also very different. And I'm also interested in hearing about, your experience and just like having a conversation about that, like the
Hmm.
whole directing thing in general.
Yeah. Okay, so writing and how it relates to directing, you want to start there?
Uh,
Or
or
what?
maybe like as separate entities,
Okay.
and also how they could
So,
go
firstly, how
together.
they're separate. Oh, let's see where to start with that. That's very, like you said, open-ended,
Yeah,
broad.
I mean, I feel like directing is such a a interesting thing because it's like you don't, at least for me, it was like it was so mysterious, before getting into it. Like even when you would watch like DVDs and stuff, they never really show you even the behind the scenes or extras, like the director actually directing or doing
Yeah,
the
you know
craft.
why they do that, right?
Why?
I don't know. I was gonna say because the standard viewer, I don't know. It's like it's not interesting to most
Oh, I
people. I
thought it would
think.
it would be fascinating to
I
me.
think so too. Can we just like see over the script supervisor's shoulder and see those notes? Can we see the interaction between the director and like I don't know. I don't even know what a director's even. It's all mysterious for sure,
Yeah.
because they're everywhere and yet they're nowhere to be
Hmm.
found on the DVD bonus features Blu-ray extras that everybody
Hmm.
watches.
Yeah, I just find it is kind of a paradox because it's like the director will, like, for films it's like a film by so and so, but
Mm-hmm.
there's also so many people involved, so that's why I was like it's a kind of a mysterious thing. And I think there was also this misconception I had before doing some directing, that you must, kind of course there are like those kind of over the top, a bit of like not very kind directors, which was like, I thought, okay, they must be the loudest, uh, very kind of bossy person.
Yeah. So you had experience seeing a bossy directors? Is
Well,
that?
I think that was just my misconception,
Oh,
like
okay.
growing up,
Like a Michael Bay with a megaphone, just yelling at everybody
Yeah,
and.
yeah, pretty much. Which was why when I was young, I was never like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a director, because I am more of a, I guess, reserved person. So I was like, yeah, I don't think I can do that. Like,
Yeah,
just go around yelling at everyone.
I
But
feel you there. We're both quiet. Yeah, reserved is a good one. I know people describe me as mellow. I feel like you're probably a mellow, chill person too.
yeah, I mean, I think I can come off as mellow, but sometimes I have a lot of chaos going on inside.
Yeah, 100%. Most definitely. I thought you were going to say you come off as mellow and then once you get on set and you're in the director chair, you turn into a tyrant. And I'm like, I got to see this.
No, no. I try not to.
Okay. All right. So directing being mysterious, sure. Writing. Um, so you want to talk about you? So you want me to take that and comment on the writing process leading into that, or
Well, I mean, I guess like, well, how did you get, or it's, we can't really ask questions about you,
yeah,
right?
you
It's
can
more
feel
about,
free. No, for
yeah,
sure.
I'm not
It's a
really sure how it
conversation. This
works,
is the
but.
Eddie Conversation podcast. Back and forth is beautiful.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, did you have those misconceptions of directing, like before when you were growing up, or?
I still have misconceptions about directing.
Oh, really?
I still get confused as to like what a director is sometimes.
Mm.
Because it is flexible.
Mhm.
Yeah, the job in my mind boils down to communicating a vision, right? And that's
Mhm.
it. It's having a vision, step one,
Mhm.
communicating it, step two.
Oh, yeah. That's a great way to boil it down.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So, tactics on how you want to communicate that can vary from a loud personality to a more personable, quiet, um, person to person, slow process versus somebody that just like walks into a room, everybody's there, and you just like shout out. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I feel like regardless, it's still like a one-to-one thing. You got to talk to your cast.
Mhm.
Each cast member you
Right.
have to talk to individually. You got to get your director of photography on board with that
Right.
vision. Every single department needs that communication from
Mhm.
you to
Mhm.
understand what direction you're headed toward. Um, but I do know that there's multiple aspects of directing, and that's where I get confused as to I feel I'm very I feel like I'm pretty solid on what a director should be on set.
Mhm.
Um, they should just be the one with the answers and know what we're doing, and again be able to communicate what they want from everybody at all
Yeah.
times at any moment.
Mhm.
Um, but then there's a pre-production side where like currently you're going through the process on multiple projects of,
Mhm.
all right, we're talking to a director right now, and like then you have to think about how does a director present themselves in an
Mhm.
interview or
Mhm.
on this thing. How do I talk about my stuff?
Mhm.
Um, I get scared on that element for sure
Mhm.
because I know I lean towards transparency in my process, and that's often not what a director is.
Oh, really?
I feel
Wow.
like I,
Well, what do you mean by transparency?
it's like, hey guys, I'm working on a new movie. We're like, I don't really know I don't really know what I'm doing right now. We're still working through stuff. The
Mhm.
story has tweaks and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like just I guess the admittance of
Like not
I don't
knowing.
know.
Well, I
Eh,
think that's a good thing though. Like I mean at least personally because it's like you don't want to lie and act like you do and that would break trust like for your team.
well, yeah,
But it's like I I guess it's also like we're still figuring it out or like let's figure it out
yes.
together or something like that.
Well, I guess okay. Here's the journey of where that becomes an issue in my brain.
Mhm.
Is in pre-production. I think you shouldn't have the answer to everything immediately. You work through stuff with your team, and that's what your team is for.
Mhm.
The visuals come through the collaboration between you and your cinematographer. Blah blah blah. Color palette and framings, compositions, vibe, tone, feel, all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff comes with conversation. The writing happens before that, though, usually. But so, so you have a vision, you figure it out, and you find those answers through your team. Then you
Mhm.
go shoot the thing, and you're winging it constructively every day. With I have a vision, but stuff changes all the
Mhm.
time. You come up with solutions, you figure it out, and you come home with something. You've shot something, and at the end of the whole process, it's edited, it's out in the world. You're talking at the Tribeca Film Festival about how your project is up for awards, and you just won the award for Best Director. And then you take the mic and you talk to everybody as if you knew everything all along. And oh yeah, like that idea, 100%.
Mhm.
That was my vision from the get go. Like it's kind of that
Right.
weird where I prefer the transparency on like, oh, that like that came up on the day, and we were like
I
struggling with fight.
see.
We are fighting light,
Yeah,
and the
there's
actor just
always
spoke up and said,
yeah.
and we just went for it, and that's the one that we like. It's just kind of
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. I mean, there's always small like things you have to roll with. You can't control every like it's impossible. Like I started learning this I guess not really a mantra, but like I always have this saying that's like something will definitely go wrong on production. It's just that you have to know how to deal with it. But yeah, that totally makes sense. I think it's like the vision always changes a little bit. Like at the core, I think like the story and the message stays the
Yeah.
same, but it's like the three phases, yeah, like the writing and then production and then post. That's always a new way of like how the story or the overall film could change.
Yeah. And it changes by the process anyway because of you bring on brilliant actors and they have ideas on the character, and yeah, everybody, that's the beauty of it. But
Mm-hmm.
yes. So, I guess like I get confused on how to hold myself sometimes. I like to be a little bit of a spaz that like I'm horrible. I don't know if have you practiced acting in any capacity?
No, I haven't. I think I probably should because I always like, I don't know, that's something that has come up. Like, people are like, it always helps filmmakers to have at least, done an acting workshop or something like that, just to know what it's like behind or in front of the camera, and also in life because it can just help you be less. less stiff.
Yeah, it opens you up a little bit.
Hmm.
It through that painful process of I feel like
Of acting.
yeah, it's so
Oh,
hard.
you tried acting
Yeah,
before? Oh,
yeah. My
really?
story starts with going back to the DVD bonus features thing
Hmm.
where you never got to see what a director did. You only got to see what the actors do. So when I
Hmm.
first wanted to get involved in film, I didn't know anything other than trying the acting route. So I
Oh.
did a couple of like local community plays and did like scene study classes for
Oh,
like a year.
wow.
But then I started producing stuff so I could act in it. And then I
Mm.
discovered everything else through that. Threw away the acting right away because I did not like it. But
Oh,
I did
okay.
like,
Oh, you actually love the behind the
yeah,
camera stuff.
the writing, the directing, the editing, the
Oh.
putting it together, the getting the team together. That was the fun part. And then the acting, I'm like, I hate this part. Like, just put somebody
Um.
who wants to be there.
Now that makes a lot more sense because that's one of the things I think I really admire about your directing is that I think you are really good at connecting with the actors. Like yeah, just, checking in with them, seeing how to get a great performance out of them, and that's definitely something that I always love to work on and try to keep growing. So that makes sense because you were in that position
Hmm.
before.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I've dabbled, and then like I know like on Instagram and stuff, I have like I still show up in front of the camera sometimes. I did like the hot wing challenge recently, and then I
Hmm.
do like these little reels where I'm acting opposite
Oh,
myself,
yeah,
and I'm
those
like
are
interviewing
hilarious.
myself. So I'm just like there's me tapping into my little actor roots and having some
Hmm.
fun with no pressure. I'm not trying to get cast, so don't cast me. I won't do it.
Are
Uh,
you sure you won't do it?
I've been asked a couple times by directors that I script supervise for. And
Ah.
they're like, "Oh, I saw your reel, and I think you'd be great for." I'm like, "No, no, no, what?
what
No,
what kind of part would you not be able to resist?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Or
It's
just playing yourself as a cameo?
I don't know, because here's the tricky part about acting. Okay, is you are who you are, and you present yourself to the world as yourself. But then once you put a camera on there and you're given dialogue and you're like, no, just still be yourself and act natural and do
Mhm.
you.
Act natural. That's
Act-
the best directing technique. Just act natural.
So like it's almost like you have to just not act. Like
Hmm.
you show up as yourself, but you have to say these lines and give that same sass and give the same sarcasm and give the same looks. But on cue, it's like a whole different thing. It's not
Hmm.
an organic experience, but you have to present it as such.
Hmm.
So it's like, how do I be me on command? Like I'm playing me right now,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Hmm.
I'm, I don't know how it's.
Yeah, it's
So,
definitely a lot.
so if you want to cast me as, I feel like it would have to be like you'd have to cast me as a joke. Like that's more of the thing is this is not serious casting. Eddie just come in and just be weird
Like
and
improvise.
yeah,
Well,
just
don't
be
even say improvise. Just go in there and mess things up.
yeah, just go in there and don't know your lines and just and just be awkward and that'll come naturally versus like come in and be like a stern police officer with a lot of with like a like a firm background and a like like a um and I guess like intimidation is
Um,
I don't know like a
yeah,
I don't
that
know
would be interesting because you always seem like a very, like you said, mellow, kind person.
right so then go in there and be mean.
Yeah.
I don't think I can pull it off, and I can't cuss convincingly. So don't put cuss words in my mouth. It's not gonna play unless it's a joke. So if you
Um,
buy into that, I might be down a star in your next pieces. So what about writing? We've mentioned writing a couple times. You write
mhm.
your own projects for the most part, always.
Yes. I
And
mean, up until actually this other feature that I am working on, I teamed up with a writer on that. But
Is that teamed up as in like it's a co-writing
oh
situation?
no, I'm directing and she's
Oh,
writing.
okay, all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, up until this point, I've always written my own films. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting process. Well, you also write your, well, I
Yeah,
think, yeah,
yeah.
you
I
write your
write, and
own.
then I have I've dabbled in co-writing with a couple different people. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, how does co-writing work? I've always been interested in that, but it also seems like it's kind of hard. Like, I can't really wrap my head around it because sometimes, like, when I write, it's like just such a insular experience that I'm like, once I get, like, the character channeled through me, it's all almost like you get possessed by them, and then you just have to start
Yeah.
writing it out.
Yes. Well, I'll fire back with a question back to you. Is when you write alone
Hmm.
and you come out with a script, how are you through like the revision process? Like
Hmm.
how how do you manage that? Like elevating the material, going through and making edits and making sure it all works. Like what
Yeah.
is that for you?
For me, I think I'm pretty like I can get kind of extreme with revisions because uh after I actually really enjoy getting notes and I often like trim a lot of things. Like I don't think I'm usually not the type that's like, no, we must keep this section. Like I like to just go in there and see like what could happen, like even like change so many elements and see the differences between drafts and things like that. And um yeah, just like getting notes is like, yeah, sure it can, I think with with anyone, like it's kind of like hard to take like initially, but after your emotions calm down, then you think about it again and it's like, okay, this does make sense or that doesn't. But um
That part's always hard.
yeah. You just have to calm down after the notes sometimes.
Well, I don't know how it is for you. I feel like okay, because as a writer, you have a lot of thoughts already about stuff that you don't think is good enough, or you know that this part needs work, but you're sending it out anyway for some notes.
Hmm.
And then when they get back and they call it out, you're like, yes, I know that needs.
Yeah, yeah,
I know that
that
needs
helped.
work. Let's not talk
Hmm.
about it.
That helped confirm things. And I think also like when I get notes like from I have a collaborative partner and we actually have like very similar comedic taste and style, so it can also help, like you said, like people may give suggestions that are like, oh yeah, that just heightened it or added more humor or helped make it stronger.
Yes. Okay. So you don't. All right. So you enjoy the revision process. It sounds like
Well, I mean,
you.
I wouldn't say enjoy, but
Well,
sometimes.
because you said that you like seeing the differences between the revisions, and you can go kind of crazy with it sometimes. Is what you had said.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's well, I like. I guess the thing is with writing, sometimes it's like because it's so by yourself that once you have something, I always feel like, okay, now I want to show people and see what they say or think. So I like, yeah, getting feedback.
Okay. All right.
Instead of like writing the script and like, okay, let's shelve it away and not show anyone.
Right. Okay. Because I know let's harken back to when I was making It's What's on the Inside,
Hmm.
my feature film directorial debut. Now I know I normally what I've how I've diagnosed myself is I normally write. For me, directing's the main dream.
Hmm.
So I do everything else in service to this for the most part. So I'll produce a project so that way I can direct it. And then I'll write a project because I want something to direct. So
Right.
it's kind of
Same
like
here.
it's all
Yeah.
in service of that. So I love writing. Um, I grew up writing as a kid. Like I was always a creative writing classes, and always
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed the creation of characters and journeys and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I do enjoy it. It is difficult. Um, and I know with It's What's on the Inside, my objective that year was like essentially over the holidays in 2018, I had decided that in 2019 was going to be the year I shot my first feature, and it was just something that was going to happen. And I set the goalposts on. I need a script first. Set a deadline to have a script done. We're shooting on this month. Crowdfunding launches this month, so I had a very strict timeline to be able to shoot a movie. So, and I wrote that one solo. I wrote that one just me, and I went through, and because of my timeline was so strict, I didn't have as much energy to go back and elevate the material. Like,
Mhm.
I'm just like, this is like, I'm about to launch crowdfunding. I got to focus on this. The
Mhm.
script, I'm
Right.
directing it. The script, I can elevate that as a director.
Mhm.
The script is fine. So, what I learned from that going through the whole process was issues that I saw in the writing process didn't go away through I
Mhm.
couldn't fix it. I tried to fix it as a director, still
Mhm.
kind of there. I tried to fix it as an editor, still kind of there, and it just was there the whole time.
Oh.
So I've since adopted the co-writing scenario and brought in people that are more writer focused.
Mhm.
So that way I could still have the fun of being a writer and my visions are still there, my humor is still there,
Mhm.
but the accountability aspect was nice. On like
Mhm.
we can keep pretty strict timelines because we're like, we're tackling it together and we
Yeah.
expect to go through Act One next week. So I got to do my writing. She's got to do her writing.
Mhm.
Um, and then just having somebody, it was just more the bounce board thing. I love having the bounce board
Oh
throughout
yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
process.
Mhm.
Like I have a hard time really wanting to go back and change everything and go through it again. Like that just there's so much weight with that that it
Mhm.
hurts.
Mhm.
So, but if I can carry it with somebody else, it's more doable
Yeah,
and it makes me feel better.
that helps. That's a really good point. Like, I think, like, for writing shorter pieces, it's what, like how I mentioned, revisions aren't so bad.
Hmm.
But I recently attempted writing my first feature, and
Oh,
I can understand that completely. Like, I haven't touched it in a long time because, yeah, it's really hard to, like, I think you just can easily get, like, lost in, like, the weeds of, like, this long story, and going back can be, it's just not something that you look forward to. But yeah, that sounds like a really ideal situation, like having someone else who you develop the story with, and just tackling it together. And I think, yeah, that's definitely like a cool way to do it, especially like I'm also the same way. Like, I would love to be a director first. Like, I am interested in the writing process, but it's also, I guess, another like lifelong journey. Like, the
yeah.
more you do it, the better you'll get at it.
Yes, most definitely. Like I know I enjoy staying on as a co-writer because sometimes I guess I have been writing enough where I feel like I'm pretty good at it and I could put a vision down on paper that's pretty clear.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes it's easier just to put it down on paper than to try to communicate it with a writer and then having them try to write it.
Mhm.
Sometimes I just want to get in there and be like, no, this is what I mean. Just type, all right, write this down. This is the line. Okay, does that make sense? And then hopefully it does. Um,
Did you take screenwriting courses, or just learned as you were doing?
I did not take any screenwriting courses, no.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think it was more like I don't know how, I don't know. I know I listened to the Script Notes podcast.
Mhm.
I've been listening to them forever. Just hearing the different writers' perspectives through everything is nice. So listening to other writers and their experiences, and then looking at screenplays was also a big one. I know that
Mhm.
was something I challenged myself with. Was let me go read some ones of some movies that I like and see what that
Mhm.
looks like, and then you just steal stuff,
Mhm.
structure and all that.
Oh
But
yeah, structure. That's kind of the, at least for as a writer, like that was the thing that was kind of challenging for me. Like, you have to, hit this plot point by a certain page and all those things.
well, have to no air quotes there. You don't have to do anything, But yeah, there's certain expectations from a viewer, narrative
Mhm.
speaking, that like, all right, our jump into Act Two,
Mhm.
our inciting incident, this page, whatever. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that stuff can be, yeah, can be
Mhm.
useful.
Mhm.
Most definitely. And then, okay, so that was writing. That's
Mhm.
writing. You were talking about how it relates once transitioning into the directing stuff. But
Mhm.
I could ask you before jumping into that is, okay, so coming from writing your own project to now partnering with a writer for the
Mhm.
first time, how have you two worked through what that dynamic is like? Like, how does that play? Or
Mhm.
I'm assuming it's still ongoing.
Yeah, it's ongoing because so the writer she's also one of my friends Luami Yasu, and she is not only the writer but she will be starring in the feature.
Mm.
And so yeah, it's a pretty cool process because we actually developed the basically like the beat sheet together, and like I'm pretty involved within the idea. Like she came up with the concept itself, but obviously we worked together, like seeing if this would fit with something that I wanted to do, and I thought it was really awesome and exciting. So yeah, it's definitely like you know uh, very collaborative,
Hmm.
um, and at the same time, it's just a new, I guess, type of way of working for me. But I like to stay busy with different projects, and I have another short that I'm working on with another writer who is also an actor. So I think that's also a good preparation to do before jumping into directing the feature.
Okay, got ya.
Yeah.
And reference, okay, because it's a similar dynamic where it's a writer actor and you're
Yes.
directing, and
Yes.
that's the okay. That's great.
Mhm.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So you're involved story wise, and you're having those conversations, and then they go away and do their writing and present it back to you,
Right.
and then you
Right.
rip it up. I'm just kidding.
No,
And
just
then it's
provide
beautiful.
notes. Yeah,
Yeah.
and discuss the notes, and yeah. Mhm.
Okay. And you've enjoyed that, or are you having like, you kind of have urges to be like, can I just get in there and add this, or has it been pretty chill where you're like, do your thing?
I
How?
mean, for the feature that I'm working on with Luam, it's currently called The Ticket. For that, it's definitely been, I think, pretty smooth because it's an idea that she had kind of bubbling for a while. And oftentimes, like, after I read the latest draft with the producer as well, it's kind of funny because we end up having like the same exact well, not exact, but like we're kind of like the team is kind of like on the same page, like, okay, we actually, this is great, but let's try to heighten these elements. And yeah, she's also able to really understand that. And I think because we're all trying to make the best possible thing, since it's my first feature as well as her first feature, so I think that really helps us like stay really motivated and kind of like excited and realize like the story is going to be the thing that makes
Yeah.
it or breaks it.
Yeah, everything is in service to making a better project. Yeah,
Mhm.
and having a better story, and it's not any sort of criticism on any individual. Yeah, all that sort
Mhm.
of stuff. Yeah,
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 yeah. That's very true. And I think yeah, like sometimes, it is I think for me, like definitely working on like strengthening my communication, which is also good for directing, because it's like you said, sometimes it's it can be easier where it's just like, okay, let me just, if I could just go in and like write this exact
right.
thing, but that's not really how collaborating works. Um
Yeah, don't do don't line read actors.
oh
It's rule number
yeah.
one. You
Yeah.
know, because it's the same thing as you go say it
Right.
like this.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not directing. Okay. No, very cool. yeah, another exercise in communication.
Mm-hmm. Definitely not my favorite thing, but I realized that it's a very valuable thing. Yeah.
Communication? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
It's not your favorite thing. What would be your preference? You just sit there in the chair and it just happens?
Telekinesis, using my mind.
We'll get there. We'll get there. And people can just feel what you want and you don't have to. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we talked a little bit about what it means to you to be a director. Did I have you answer that specifically? Yeah, we did. I know I
Well,
boiled it down to it's somebody just communicate. The job is communicating, but
hmm, yeah, I mean, I think I read this. I'm not exactly sure where I read this quote, but I found it kind of resonated with me. Was like someone said, being a director, at least in terms of working with actors, is kind of like being a surrogate for the actors or characters' emotions, and I found that to be very interesting. Um, oh, what were you gonna say?
no,
Something?
I was just no.
Oh yeah, and I kind of like the also like you said, it's basically just like someone who tries to communicate like the creative aspect of the film, and yeah, kind of like guiding or but also working together to see like to understand the psychology of the character and the motivations, like why are they making these choices and things like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I guess that's normally my default when I'm talking to anybody, is
Uh-huh.
if I'm struggling to have a specific vision, I
Uh-huh.
usually I boil things down to the simplistic form of, well, this scene is about
Mm.
well, what I'm trying to get across is that by the end of this scene, she's really becoming self-conscious about how she looks in front of this other character, and she feels very intimidated by that presence, and she feels like she's losing grasp of her own reality. And
Mm.
then
That's very very deep.
so then with that, you're like, okay, then the costumer can think about, oh, I need to make this
Mm.
other character look like what they're wearing
Oh.
should add to that.
Mm-hmm.
And the DP's thinking about, all
Right,
right, we got
right.
to make them feel that way. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like,
Yeah,
all right.
exactly.
And the
Like the
composer, all of it.
the emotion behind like the scene or the film itself, like
Mhm.
what to convey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So, segueing out of that, I was gonna go back to the anthology short one more time.
Mm-hmm.
When people watch this anthology short project, what um main theme are you hoping people take away from it slash or maybe yeah themes in general that you cover if this is a new theme or if this yeah
You mean the my segment in or the in anthology in general?
your segment specifically.
Okay, so for my segment, I would say like a general overall theme is that it's being quote unquote different isn't a bad thing, and to kind of well, is there a word for de-taboo? Like destigmatize, I guess it
There
was
you go. That's a good word.
like, yeah, like
Detabooize.
de-tabooing. Um, yeah, like differences, like especially when it comes to within a family. Like, of course, not every family's like this, but sometimes families fall into roles. Like, okay, you're the funny brother, and you only have to fall into that archetype, or you're the nagging mom.
I'm thinking about Encanto really right now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah. You're the strong one that does all this work. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But well, I guess the theme is you must talk about Bruno.
You must talk about yeah communication once again.
Oh yeah. That's true. But also just sometimes I mean it's definitely a lot darker than Encanto. Like that wouldn't be a comp at all. But um basically just
Yeah, no, yeah, no,
yeah, like sometimes like unfortunately you do have to go against your family and that's okay. And kind of another smaller I guess motif is the death drive. Like why humans have a fascination sometimes with things that are bad for them or could basically cause them to be in danger.
the death drive. I
Yeah.
never heard that term before.
It's basically just like you know how if you stand at like at a ledge or something, sometimes your mind may wander and be like, what would happen if
Oh yes,
yeah, yeah, like
that happens on drives a lot when you're driving on a
oh
cliffside.
yeah, like if
And
you
I always think about like if I just gassed it
yeah.
and just drove off this cliff, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, very scary, but yeah, it just made me think of like why do we have that? I mean, obviously it was probably a survival technique from when we were living in the wild or something like that. But
Okay,
well, I mean that's how I see it.
it's from somewhere. I don't know how it's useful. It's just yeah. Okay.
But also other themes of like uh I would say like young teenage, especially teenage girls, and how they deal with sexuality. Like that's another taboo thing that parents would, especially I think for girls, they would be like, okay, let's just hope this doesn't ever develop. But sometimes like stereotypically for the son they may be like, oh yeah, he's becoming a man. But if it was
Hmm.
like for the daughter, they may be like, let's just hope she stays as a little girl forever.
Yes. Okay. I get that. And then okay, so I mean, the issue becomes those external forces at some point over time become internal forces as well, right? And that's kind of the 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 detabooing of the because yeah because well I guess I think back to like again it's what's on the inside. It's more of like
Mm,
because I love the general theme that you had mentioned initially with being different is okay
mm,
and
mhm,
getting that self confidence to just be yourself.
mhm,
Um, and over like in my story, she's overcoming anxiety,
mhm.
and just learning to be comfortable with who she is and that and how to take steps to grow within yourself to be comfortable with going out into the world and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, there's definitely some similar themes in that because in this anthology short the parents want her to stay home because there's been missing girls,
oh,
and
okay,
she's
okay,
also very well, they just see her as a child, like younger than her age. Even though she's a teenager, they treat her as a child, and that kind of um, just isn't the best way of dealing with things. Just trying not to like spoil the
yeah,
the story.
for sure. No, that makes sense. That yeah, with your death drive thing, I'm that adds up now too. With all right, there is danger in the world. Sometimes
Hmm.
you want the danger. I know. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, great.
Well, what inspired the focus on anxiety and differences in your film?
Well, I feel like I know it again it's kind of a destigmatizing agenda, if you will,
Hmm.
where I've always been in the same boat too, where I'm not a fan of people passing judgment too quickly on things that we all deal with.
Hmm.
It's like everybody gets nervous, everybody gets anxious. Don't like I know we often again when you present yourself as a director, you want to have that confidence in that stuff. So
Right.
once you we're like, I can't show this
Yeah.
other side because then no, 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 no. And other
Mhm.
people can feel that way in just the world. It's like I have to
Right.
look like I have my stuff together because I want my mom to think, I don't need her treating me like a girl anymore. So I want to
Yeah.
pretend. I gotta put up this front, even though it's not who I am.
Right. Because of fear of judgment in the world.
Yeah,
Mhm.
or death.
Well, that's a bit extreme. It's like you didn't present yourself confidently. Now you must die.
Yeah, because my Rachel is the name of the character in my first feature, and she kind of deals with agoraphobia,
Mhm.
which is the literal fear of death through
Um,
anxiety, like heart attack, essentially. Like you'll just die of that. Just that stress will overtake you, and you just die in front of
mhm.
everybody, embarrassingly. Um,
Yeah. And she is scared to leave her apartment.
yeah, because if I'm gonna die, I'd I'd rather
No one sees.
yeah, it's embarrassing to die in
Mhm.
front of everybody.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think it's kind of funny because it's like when I was learning more about setting up story structures and making your character face their worst fears. Um I think it kind of like applies to life too, because I also, have to deal with things like anxiety or, yeah, like self confidence issues at times. But yet, my passion is to be a director. So it's like, it's kind of like, what would you give this character to make them grow, but also like cause them a challenge? Which is kind of ironic because it's like, oh, it applies to life too, like those storytelling
Yeah,
techniques.
and that's we'll come back to jumping in the actor's shoes again as well. Like I know when I was pursuing acting, that the acting didn't come naturally at all, and then anything I ever did to pursue that felt like growth pains for sure.
Hmm.
And then like
Yeah.
even like improv exercises, like
Oh.
the scariest things in the world, but
Oh, yeah.
getting through that, you do grow and you do become more comfortable, and you are able to
Mm.
handle life a little bit better
Wow.
through that
Now
growth.
you're making me think maybe I should challenge myself to act,
That's the
but that's really
goal.
scary. Yeah,
Yeah, it is
yeah.
scary.
Especially improv. That's pretty crazy because, yeah, you can't really even think. So there's no safety net of making the wrong choice or something like
The
that.
safety net is your team, similar to directing.
Um,
Um, yeah, if you, I mean, ideally, yeah, you go in there, you have no idea what to say, you
mhm.
stumble, your scene partner hopefully improvs the way to save you, and then
Um,
get back on the.
um,
It's so.
I'm.
Ooh. Okay, but yes, you're asking about why I went that. Okay, I mean, I was thinking about just my own past too. Like I grew up and I was super quiet and I was super um I was just a shy kid
Um,
that I'm a fan of like the observer role more so than being the center of attention person. So um and then I don't know, I'm just we are who we are. And I know that I would get called weird and stuff quite regularly, which
oh,
is so it took me a while to really I know I would make efforts to try to grow out of it. Like
mhm.
I'm like, all right, how do I be like a normal person? How do I present myself in a way where I don't get called weird anymore? But
Yeah,
then I ended up getting to more of a place where like, let me just embrace who I
right.
am, and through that, you actually it's better that way.
Weird is awesome.
No,
Weird is the
exactly.
best.
Exactly, which is where I came around to through college. But it took some time, and I know I actively uh, tried out different stuff just to see. Yeah, but yeah, again, we are
Mhm.
who we are, and weird is cool. And yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, embracing it. I think embracing who you are is kind of life journey.
that's true. Yeah, very true.
And then yet, there's still the understanding that we want to be a director, so we
Hmm.
have to be comfortable in other circumstances in which we are naturally uncomfortable.
Right, right. Yeah, you know what? It made me think of in terms of like how you're mentioning being weird or not quote unquote conventional. I also have that same type of feeling sometimes and have been called a bit weird, but it
Hmm.
made me think of, have you ever seen this show called Nathan for You?
Nope.
Oh, well, you should definitely check it out because the guy on there leans into being a bit quote unquote weird or awkward, and I'm like, that's uh that's my new journey. Like, just lean
Yeah.
into it more.
Yes. 100%. No, I love it. I love it. Nathan for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's hilarious. I know for sure you're gonna crack up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Guaranteed. Even if
Yeah.
it's just internal,
And
you'll crack
I
up.
think if you don't crack up, then I just
Then you're
know you.
weird.
No, no, no. Then you're no. Yeah, then we have a problem. You'll for sure crack up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Noted. I know sometimes when people tell me stuff is great or I'm gonna laugh,
You never laugh.
then I go in there and I'm like, all
Okay,
right,
fine. Maybe. So you actually don't laugh when people tell
you
you it's
know,
funny?
correct. It's
Oh,
hard. It's
really?
hard.
Oh,
Like you
you.
going to a stand-up show, I'd be like, this is
Uh,
a place to laugh, but instead I'm just sitting there and I'm enjoying the act, and I want to laugh. I often
yeah.
laugh. I do laugh. Um, but it
I
does.
don't think I've heard him laugh before.
I'm so serious. Uh,
But yeah, that's, well, I mean, for stand up, I usually don't laugh either. I just find like if it's something witty, then I'm like, hmm. Yeah.
exactly, because we're creatives and we're writers, so we're like analyzing the joke, and we're like,
Hmm.
how did they? All right, no, this is like a good time. This is great. You're
Yeah.
awesome.
Hmm. But then
Woo!
people are always like, and I was like, oh, that was pretty funny. And then people are like, but you didn't laugh once.
Yeah.
Like, but I find it amusing at times.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's me too.
Hmm.
So we'll go to a stand-up show together, and we'll just be like,
Just crickets, and then the comic is upset, but afterwards we're like, we loved it.
we
It's
loved it.
like,
You were
what's wrong
great.
with you
We'd love to
guys?
cast you.
It's like, you guys are weird.
And then we're like, thank you. We'll take that. No, that's great. Um, I thought I had a thought. We're on a good roll there. That was nice. I enjoyed that.
Hmm.
That was funny.
Well, I mean, what type of comedy do you like? Because the Nathan thing is more so a bit awkward, like, well, not, well, it's just like purposefully uncomfortable cringe humor.
Okay.
Yeah, but
It depends. I
it's.
mean, in that vein, I love awkward comedy. I love the quiet. Even like The Office has plenty of moments like that too.
Mhm.
I know. No, I love that. That's kind of my jam.
Mhm. Then
Cringe
you
comedy,
will laugh.
cringe comedy. If it has to be, I mean, it has to be done right.
But it's done very well though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know I've gone to some stand-up routines where like there are cringe comedians, and sometimes they go too far, and
Mm.
it's like, no, this is just like
They're
like
just
it gets,
uncomfortable or
it's a fine
something.
line. Humor
Mhm.
is rough. Humor's tough. Being funny is hard. But yeah,
Mhm.
Nathan, for you, noting.
Yeah.
Okay, what I
Well,
was gonna.
oh, well, but well, wait,
Go for it.
one more
Go for it.
thing. Well, then, what do you find funny? Do you have any references where you actually laughed?
I feel like I was laughing the other day. um, I know that this is the hardest stuff to capture in film. I feel like
Comedy, right?
comedy
Mm-hmm.
wise is
Yeah.
the specific comedy that, because I love the accidental happenings of the human experience, like when somebody is like a really serious thing, and somebody's trying to I don't know, just somebody using the wrong word when they meant to say something else, or like getting
Mm.
flubbed on like even like a accidental stutter at a pivotal moment,
Oh.
or
Like
like somebody trying to really be, cause I,
like breaking a serious moment accidentally.
well, just accidents, I guess. Like somebody
Um,
trying to hold themselves together,
mhm.
but I don't even know how to describe the
But
humor. It's just like accidental things where you
um,
misspeak or you trip or you
hmm.
like something that comes out of nowhere, that the things that we try to hide from our own stuff. Like,
Oh, like breaking your well, not fourth wall, but your personal front or something.
yeah, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're at a family dinner and you're I don't even know. Okay, I'm not gonna try to paint a scene here. I
So,
didn't have a clear picture
so
there. I stopped
basically,
it.
what you find funny are those like prank shows that they show when you
No,
take a
no,
flight. My goodness.
that's not accidental though. That's not.
Well, you don't know how the people are gonna react. But yeah, I guess it's not really.
I'm thinking of. Come on, Eddie, paint something here. Paint something.
Well,
Okay, like you're at family dinner and your dad is there and he's always super macho and manly, and um he has to I don't have anything. I'm gonna say
mm,
he's sitting there and he's being macho,
mm-hmm.
and man, I got nothing. I was
He,
gonna say you're singing Happy Birthday. I don't know. It I got nothing.
oh,
Skip the
where
segment.
he
I'm out.
accidentally,
I'm out.
well, I mean, there's also absurd comedy. Do you enjoy that? Sometimes that could be funny when people go too far
Hmm.
and just for the
That
other's
that could be fun.
reaction.
That could be fun
Yeah.
too. I know. I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking about the feature film I went to New Mexico for last year.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that we embraced our weird on that one, which was fun. Like that was one where I was encouraging the cast actively to like come up with suggestions for themselves, that so they were pushing themselves to be weird,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would act out the thing and ask like, was that too much? I'm like, no, more, more.
Well, how do you push someone to be weird?
Well, it's more of giving confidence on the direction that they're headed is more so. It's
Mm-hmm.
like because there could be that self-consciousness from the actor, and like I'm going to try this thing. I'm not 100% on board with it, but I'm feeling this is the right way. And then once you give them the confidence, they can lean more into it. So just opening the floodgates for them kind of often allows quote unquote more weird.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like you have to show your weird side to encourage them,
yeah,
or
it's just more like you love what they're doing, and then they love giving you what you want to see. So it's
mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, and then I'd come up with suggestions like, all right, I know this is weird, but can we? No, 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 what if you? No, 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 no. And then they're like, oh my god, that's great. Let's try that. So,
Mm-hmm.
because oftentimes in normal human interaction, you're not gonna go to that absurdist comedic route.
Right,
So when you
right.
have a position,
That's their chance to try
it's
something
everybody's
crazy.
chance. It's your chance to get weird. It's their chance to get weird,
Mm.
and that's what we're here to do.
That's a great way to think about it.
Hmm.
That's basically, if not now, when, because you wouldn't say those suggestions in real life, but only on set.
Yeah, exactly,
hmm
exactly. Um, Great. We're doing wonderfully. Let's see what this is here. What can you talk about in terms of? I know you got to be a speaker recently on a panel. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
This already went. This already passed, right? That already went down.
Yes.
It was for a storyteller book camp,
Boot camp.
boot camp.
Yes.
Typo. I was like book camp, boot camp. by Vidzi regarding diversity, inclusion, and
Mhm.
belonging in the stories that we tell. So I know this we talked a lot about theme and stories that you're excited about, but in terms of um, getting to speak on a panel and such, how did that go? What was how have you been doing more of that kind of thing as of late, or how did that come about and stuff?
Yeah, that was actually really cool. So Vidsy is basically, if you haven't heard of them, uh, a streaming platform. Mostly, well, it's international, but they're based in Singapore. And I have one of my shorts on there, and they actually reached out to me. Basically asking me like you were having this first ever virtual storytelling boot camp, and I think if it's not already up there, they should have all
Mhm.
the panels put up again. But it just gives people, advice and like a place to talk about and learn from various people in filmmaking about like how to make something all the way from like using your phone to like a producer's panel with people on like an HBO show and everything in between. So
Yeah,
they asked me like, would you be interested in sharing your experiences on this panel? And yeah, I was really excited and, of course, agreed. And it was a pretty cool experience. I mean, it was virtual, so that's kind of different than talking
yeah,
in person. But it was really nice because I was on the panel with two other filmmakers who I never met before, and they just like I guess all convening and sharing our experiences, like how to be mindful of like the stories we're telling. Not only are they inclusive in casting, but also from the phase of like pre-production, like writing the story, and at a larger level leadership roles like behind the camera, like with the executives and things like that. So yeah, there was a lot of very good topics, things that I think need to be talked about more.
hmm
And yeah, I mean, there was one, well, there was one. I don't know if the person was a troll or not at the end, but
okay, all right.
but it was at least nice to be able to address the comment. So basically, someone at the end was like,
Wait, okay.
"Oh,
Well,
well, maybe I won't."
what was the topic on? What was the comment?
I
Or
mean,
I guess maybe you'll circle around through it. Okay,
oh,
go for
yeah.
it.
I
You're
mean, it
telling
was
them.
like, as you mentioned, it was about diversity, inclusion, uh, and equity in storytelling. So it was like basically we were wrapping up, and then someone asked the question like, "Oh, so you guys love to include minorities and queer people like LGBTQ plus. What if you're not including straight people, and that in itself is exclusion?" So that was yeah, a good chance to educate the person. Hopefully they were just not really, I guess, aware that things aren't even close to being, at a level of parody, and also the fact that uh just historically with everywhere around the world, like not just in the US, because it was a international panel, that there is and have been active like laws and just daily discrimination and terrible things that set barriers for people that aren't, you know, straight or the majority or whatever. So that's definitely something where you do have to actively try to ask yourself, like, am I being as inclusive as I can? Why am I telling the story if it's of, a story of a specific community? So yeah, just being able to address that was good because I think a lot of people may not understand. Sometimes like there's always like part of the brain like whenever there are things like for example like Black Lives Matter movement, there will always be someone like, oh, what like what about all lives? Like, you're missing the point, you know? So it was kind of good to just be able to address, even though it was like, once you see that comment, you're like, oh God, here we go again. So that was
Yeah.
the so-called troll thing, if it was.
It's yeah, no, I definitely I was just I don't know. I stumbled upon a similar conversation thread on Facebook recently. It was like this morning, I think. I don't know. It came across my feed somehow because I'm, of course, I'm a part of like different LA filmmaker groups and all this. And, no, it was okay. I don't know. It's it's on theme, so I'm bringing it up. There was a guy that it's a whole deal. I'll try not to. Okay, the guy posted for a job. He was like, "I'm seeking a film editor for our short film. We are preference toward female editors
Okay.
in parentheses."
Right.
And then underneath there was some extended debate on like, well, first it was like why does the gender of the filmmaker why does the sex of the filmmaker editor
Oh,
matter for the film?
Mm-hmm.
And then he responded with that it was to have a certain threshold on their team to be able to submit the film toward to female
Festivals.
to female leaning or just yeah. And then there's a whole thread back and forth and arguing about the it's like, so wait, if you want to be more open to like why would you exclude an entire sex from a film festival if you're trying to be more open to a film festival?
Oh my God, there's always gonna be those comments.
So then it was just all weird because then there's criticisms toward the initial dude that posted it because it's like it's a dude trying to fill
that's
fill
true.
a checklist.
Right. He could also be doing it maybe for vanity reasons.
Yeah, he's
like
not,
you don't know
he's
that
not even
either.
he's not even just trying to he's trying to fulfill something and then the other guy's combating. It was just
oh my
it was just no winning down the road.
And you just read every comment.
I was just I went through
this is fascinating.
Well, because then somebody else shared that, and then some woman was pulling that whole thing apart. It was like sub.
Oh boy.
It was like, spreading quick, and I'm like,
Wow. Did they ever reach a conclusion, or who, I guess, settled this debate?
I'm trying to think on if it. Okay. The moral of the story was kind of like what you said with the Black Lives Matter. You're missing the point here. I think the point is to acknowledge the history of what film crews often look like and what people often look like, and making efforts to just being conscious of. I think that's kind of it. Just be conscious.
Yeah.
Just be conscious and be a good person.
Right.
Yeah, versus exploitation in other ways.
Yeah, or just trying to fill a checklist. That's a whole nother issue that starts arising.
Yeah. I was on a set recently too. I felt kind of bad. Well, because sets are generally male skewing, because of just the grip gaff team and ACs and camera and are all primarily dudes for the most part because it's tech based and heavy stuff.
Well, I mean, there definitely are females in that position. You just sometimes have to look a little bit more for them.
Most definitely. Like, yeah. So in this one circumstance, it was like a bigger shoot too. I felt bad for there was one actress. There was a scene with 3 dudes, and then the one actress finally came in. She was running late, and then she was like, "Hey guys, I'm a token woman here." And then I looked around the room, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, she's the only woman in the room." There's like 3 cameras with multiple ACs, the grip team, the director, me. I'm a dude. And I'm like, oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and she's like used to it.
Yeah, she's used to it. And it was a comedic skit too, so she was, just calling it out and making it a joke. and whatnot. But either way, inclusion,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, especially from the top levels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so you had that panel. That was cool. You got to meet those other filmmakers that
Hmm.
were next to you, chatting. Have you kept in touch with them? I'm sure you connected as well too, right? Is that a thing?
Yeah, so basically we all started following each
And,
other on
and now
Instagram.
you're best friends.
But yeah, just following each other and sending nice emails after the panel.
That's cool.
So, yeah, that's always nice. I mean, I think that's also a really great benefit of filmmaking is like at least for me personally because I uh also was very very quiet and shy growing up. Like it's a great way to meet people and always like surprises me happily 9 times out of 10 like people in filmmaking are usually very kind and want to connect and help each other, which is like something I think doesn't get talked about that much enough.
Mm,
Well, I mean,
okay.
of course, it's like in Hollywood, there's always going to be like problems, but at least like in the indie world, it seems like people are pretty cool and nice, and like I feel happy about that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
100%. We can talk about it right now. Which no, I agree. I mean, that's when people ask me about if I like living in Los Angeles or how do you
Hmm.
like living in LA, and I'm like, I hate it.
Hmm.
No, my answer is normally like I wouldn't be living here if it weren't for the film industry. I mean, that's why I'm
Right.
here.
Yeah.
It's too crowded. It's too cluttered. There's too
Hmm.
whatever. There's too many people.
Terrible air quality.
Air, traffic,
Yeah.
noise.
Mhm.
But the people, the film people, are
Mhm.
lovely. The indie film
Mhm.
supporting each other. There's so many creative, awesome people that it's just hard to. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to fulfill that collaborative. Uh, I don't know,
Uh,
heart meter. I don't know.
yeah,
Uh,
that
it's
makes
lovely.
sense because it's also like, yeah, I think we all understand a bit of what it takes because before when I was in the Bay Area, like the film community, at least wasn't that big,
Yeah.
especially compared to LA. So sometimes it'd be like most like friends that weren't in it or wouldn't understand. Like, why are you always like trying to work so hard or obsessing over this thing,
Hmm.
and it would make it harder to make things because yeah, if you're not in the industry, sometimes it's hard to understand like wow, it takes so much just to make this little thing. But yeah, coming here and just getting connected with more people, it just makes it more possible to even make like passion projects. So yeah, that's really awesome.
Very much so. Yes. No. Yeah. Very similar experience here too. Where's my phone? Oh my word. Ugh. How you feeling? You holding up?
Pretty good, except my back is getting kind of. Well, well, I guess if I remove my shoes, is it okay
Yeah.
if
Yeah. Yeah. Go
I
for it.
think I need to turn 90 degrees because it's not good for my back. Well,
Okay.
yeah, I have some. Oh, crap.
My
Sorry.
Game
Oh, God,
Boy.
no.
No, all is well. All is well. You can let that. You can. All right. It's fine. You can leave it. Okay.
There.
So moving forward here, we'll wind this down. Maybe we talked about the boot camp. Um, yeah, I know I've only been on one panel before. Luckily, I don't know. Luckily, it was pre-pandemic, and it was for
Mm-hmm.
crowdfunding,
Oh.
and that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of fun. That was like right after my feature, and so yeah, it was cool. I think there was like four of us on the stage,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not connected with any of those people.
Oh, who put up this panel?
I don't know. It was a film. It was some sort of film festival. It's been so long.
Oh, that's really
I
cool.
don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was the one with the rinky dink 12K raised through Kickstarter. But I still had the experience and I made my thing. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like the micro version, and there's like,
Oh.
different levels of
Oh,
this person
nice.
on the end that raised to a couple million,
Oh
this
my
person.
God, a couple
y-
million on crowdfunding.
potentially. I
Wow.
forget. I'm just trying to give the
Oh, the range
yeah,
of people. Mhm.
yeah. So I know I met a lot of uh cool people from the audience. I mean, I guess that's the difference, right?
Mm.
Like, it got to come down afterwards, and everybody kind of
Mhm.
came to me with specific questions, which was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something I miss from in-person film festivals. Just meeting people there, like that's a great place to meet a lot of people.
Oh, yes, brings me a great segue. Thank you. Film festivals. You've made um
A few
you've
shorts.
made a few projects that
Yes.
you have pushed through the film festival.
Mhm.
Can you talk to me, because I've never gone through it before. I've never
Oh, you never submitted to
I've
festivals.
never I've never purposefully made a thing with the intention of going through any sort of film festival track.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Well, what
I
has been your goal? I mean, you get them distributed, so that's always great.
So goal number one. I know you're trying to figure out your back over here. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no,
You're gonna
no
leave
problem.
broken. You're gonna leave broken. Um, for my first feature, the objective was, again, 2019. Shoot the thing.
Mhm.
Shoot it. You have 12K. Or before that, you had no money, no story. Here's a year in front of you. Your first full year in Los Angeles. Make a movie. That was the
Mhm.
goal. Leave this year with having a movie shot in the bag, and I was trying to do it before I turned 30 as well.
No.
I was like,
Mhm.
have it directed before I turned 30, which was in
Wow,
September.
great job. Mhm.
So the objective really was to prove to myself that I could do it at all. That was like number one, is just do it and get it in the can, and then get into post and figure it out and come out with a movie.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I had no intention of selling it. I had no intention of, like, I didn't, my brain couldn't go that far. I was like, I just need to get this thing done. So then when it was done, I let my brain kind of open up on, like, well, what do I want to do now? I don't really want to spend the year at film festivals on this.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I got the experience I wanted. I proved to myself I can do it.
Yeah.
Can I just move on to the next one already, versus
Um.
push for the fest?
Right. Right.
So I did push to get the distribution. I was like, while I'm here, I might as well just like send it around and ask
Mhm.
people what's up and
Okay. So
figure
you
that out.
just you emailed different companies
I
or
emailed everybody that I knew that might know what I could do to find.
Mhm.
So every network that I had, anybody that had made a feature before, I'm like,
Mhm.
hey, do you know anybody? Hey, 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 hey.
Oh.
And eventually
Yeah.
somebody connected me with a distributor that wanted to take it on. And I'm like, deal, let's do it.
Mhm.
And then it got released last year. But
Okay. Were you able to make any returns on that?
um no.
Oh.
I didn't, again.
Oh, I mean, I know it's not your goal, but I just
Yeah.
am curious because I haven't gone through
Yeah,
that
I mean,
process before.
yeah, the answer is, yeah, through the Amazon Prime,
Oh.
through rentals and
Mhm.
purchases and ads through Fandango now, or like however, I have received checks in the mail,
Mhm.
but not even, I mean, not even enough to make the small budget back. Like, I didn't put
Oh.
any money into advertising, so it's
Mhm.
kind of just like whatever happened, happened.
Mhm.
I know we did a big push on the release. Like, I got the whole crew and cast and developed materials, and we had a big opening weekend social media push.
Mhm.
But then after that was done, it was like it just lives out there now.
Right. Right.
So that way, because we only have so much energy, and I didn't want
Mhm.
to. Yeah,
Yeah, like that's not the fun creative
yeah,
part.
and that
Mhm.
wasn't the objective. So I wanted
Yeah.
to now move forward, knowing that I had made and directed a feature, and go on to the next one. And then I
Mhm.
directed two features last year. One that you
Oh
came on to
yeah.
shadow.
Mhm.
That's how we met.
Mhm.
Yeah. So feature number two, the plan
Mhm.
is the film festival route, and then
Okay.
I'm
Mhm.
in pre on a larger a larger budget short that I want to push through the fest too. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
experiment with both at the same
Oh.
time
Mhm.
this year for that.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
being that
Uh-huh.
you've done it and you've been through it, Can you talk to me about how you approached it, and then maybe like why you approached it the way you did, or how you would approach it this next time, or anything?
Uh, I mean, yeah, for my shorts, like, I guess, yeah, it is kind of weird because when you think about it, at least for me, it's like, it's always like, I well, I guess once I got into festivals, people there's like usually a Q&A, and then people would always ask you like what's next? And that started like just getting into my mind like, oh, it's always about the next thing, like for better or for worse, but it's also a bit strange to navigate like, okay, I mean, I obviously, when I was making my shorts, made it purely because out of passion, like out of wanting to tell the story and enjoying it and everything like that. But at the same time, I think after making a few shorts, like, I want to go to the next level and the next step. And it's also like, then all these things get involved that aren't creative. Like, what's like, how are you gonna get, like, I don't know, the business side or like, make this a viable career or go on a major studio or things like that. But yeah, just going back to the film festival thing. So my very first short, which was very very guerrilla style, I made it in when I was studying abroad in Singapore, and yeah, pretty much just myself and like one other person as the crew. But I decided to submit that to a film festival, San Diego Asian Film Festival, and I was really happy to get into that because prior to when I was in college, I actually was an intern at a film festival, and I was like, oh wow, this is a really cool environment. Like I didn't really know about like the indie film world, and so my goal was like after watching films there was to get into a festival because I admired the filmmakers that got in. So that was kind of my main focus. And then got into a festival. Then I was like, wow, I love this experience so much because it was, obviously in person and people like seeing it in a theater and talking with people, and the community aspect was really great. So I was like, okay, when I make my next short, I want to get into more festivals just to like have that experience again and connect with more people. And yeah, but I think after a while, like getting into festivals is still great, but it's also like not 100% necessary for like becoming a filmmaker or whatever, because it's also really hard since you have to pay a submission fee to with no guarantee of anything, and making a film itself you already went through a lot. So yeah, it's definitely like something I'm still figuring out, like, okay, what's the next strategy or step?
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess two things. One, how was it? How do you feel in the audience when you're watching people watch your short? Like,
Mhm.
how does that feel for? Do you okay? I don't want to give you options. How does that feel?
Do you feel A, B, C?
All
Yeah,
of them throughout the short.
yeah. It's definitely a lot. Like, I think it kind of feels a little bit like you're giving a class presentation. Like, um, at least when I first had my very first short being shown, because I'm like, oh God, everyone's watching this, and like I just feel like very hyper aware of things. But as I've had more screenings, it's nice to kind of see like how are people reacting, and when they laugh at the right moment or like gasp at the right moment, it's like, yay, I did my job. I feel very happy about that. um but at the same time, it can also be like, okay, I'm analyzing everything I could have done better, which is a balance, because with I think with any artwork, you're always going to be like, I could have done this or that better. Or if people, didn't really resonate with it, I still at the end of the day always try to remind myself like, uh, you know, did I personally enjoy the outcome of this film, especially like watching it myself, like the final cut and everything. And then once I have that feeling, then I'm like, okay, I feel fine, even if people are like, I hated this film, which is fine to me also because, well, actually, a funny story I just remembered was at my first film festival, I did hear something that the the festival director told me, like, he was like, actually your film caused a lot of debates. Half of the committee loved it, half of them hated it. So I think I mean, it's good as long as people have some sort of reaction rather than they're just like, I was bored.
Yeah, no debate versus yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the watching it, being the self-criticalness of it. I know I haven't had nearly enough festival or screenings in general under my belt to really get over. I don't even know if you get over such a thing. I don't know. I feel like I I'm nervous about the experience of sitting through a feature.
Oh yeah,
It's like
haven't had that yet.
yeah, so it's not
Mhm.
just, a 5 to 10 minute short that you it's like that'll be over
Right,
quick.
right.
It's like people came out here to watch an hour and a half.
That's true.
Ah!
I've heard of directors like standing in the back of theaters, like for their screenings,
Mhm.
so that you can watch people's reactions, but
Yeah,
also probably take a breather or something if you need to.
for sure. For sure. Okay, so that was one was your experience actually just being in the audience with it.
Yeah.
Um, two was what when you say like gauging whether it's worth it or not, because like you talk
Hmm.
about you have to for film festivals, we give money to companies for the chance to even get accepted, which I heard is kind of unique to our industry. It's not really how things normally operate in real world circumstances, which is interesting. So anyway, we give
Yeah.
money to pull the slots and see if we get accepted or not.
Right. It's definitely like a gamble sometimes because it's not even like if the film was good or not. It's also
Hmm.
because, programmers will have sometimes they have certain themes. Well, for shorts, but
Sure.
even throughout the festival, and it's like, oh, your short didn't fit our theme that we were going for.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's almost like trying to get cast in a film. It's like
mhm.
it's not really their fault we didn't cast them. It's we were going for something here.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Hmm.
you were great, don't worry. You were great. We wanted to cast everybody, but we just can't. Um, what I was going to ask about was what you found was the most useful thing that you did to get out. We talked about the experiences already. I
Hmm.
mean, the relationships potentially
Hmm.
that you get from meeting others through Q&As,
Right.
or if it's in person, it's a whole different thing.
Hmm.
But outside of that, what about have you had experiences with being reached out to like agents or managers who saw your stuff through festivals or having laurels on your like what are the other things that I could look forward to that
Uh, well, I mean, yeah, that's also another great thing about festivals. Like, depending on the festival, they will have, like, if you're, one of the filmmakers, you'll have an all access pass, and they may have, like, special panels or, like, you can connect with.
little meet and greet or something?
Yeah, exactly. Like people like executives or producers, whatever. And yeah, that's always a good connection to have and just like, send them little emails here and there. But actually, I think, well, what was unique about the festival that I'm currently working with, Studio Fest, which
Mm,
is where I'm doing my feature, that's probably like the biggest thing that I got out of a festival.
that's
Um,
huge.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you're going to explain that scenario? So what how did that one work?
So that festival is really unique because um at the it was a second festival, or I guess season, that they had it. And at the time, it was basically, writers submit your feature script, directors submit a short, and it's all for people that haven't yet. I mean, at the time, haven't yet done a feature yet, and they would choose the top five of each, the top five directors, top five writers, and then at the end of a weekend, like of having your screenings, your scripts being read, and like networking, which was pretty fun too because sometimes festivals like that festival put you up in like a weekend retreat type of thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah,
Ooh.
so that was really fun. And yeah, at the end of that weekend, they were just like, yeah, we will choose a team to work together. And yeah, complications aside, that's basically what came out of that festival. So I think hopefully there will be more festivals, and probably are more because I haven't researched, but hopefully there will be more festivals like that. But definitely something I learned about submitting to festivals is like you have to make sure that kind of check like whatever prizes or incentives they give you to see if it's worth it, because I have unfortunately had so-called I don't want to, well, kind of like scam festivals
Mm.
happen as well. But yeah, it's definitely also you have to check like do they have reviews, or like ask other filmmaker friends like
Yeah.
have you got like how was your experience before
Yeah.
you submit and spend like $50.
Can you describe a scam festival, signs of a scam festival?
Well, I mean, I think something that happened to me was like a festival. It was so bad. Like, I'm not gonna name names, but it was so bad because I was all excited. Like, went to the screening, and
This
then
was in person.
yes, before the pandemic, and then they actually didn't even show my short. They showed something that was completely not even on the agenda. And also another one where there never really was a screening, though they promised it. And I think ways of finding out is, like I mentioned, try to ask around, see if they have reviews. Basically, doing a little bit of research is always good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you there is also, while it doesn't, there's also the debate like, are laurels worth it? I mean, at the same time, you will still have a little bit of credibility to put up a laurel. I mean, that's up for debate, and it just depends on, everyone's own opinion. But yeah, like you are still a great filmmaker with or without laurels, but sometimes people like to see that, like it doesn't
Yeah.
hurt.
The external approval.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, okay, yeah, because I know laurels come, yeah, the laurel is that cool. How do we describe a
Like
laurel?
the
It's a,
leaves.
yeah, those leaf things that says,
Like official selection
yeah.
at
So there's different
Sundance or something.
levels of laurels. There's the official selection, which
Hmm.
is
Oh
awesome
yeah,
to
yeah.
put. Like you kind of get that with the acceptance to any festival.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
then you can kind of get upgraded with like instead of just saying official selection at Sundance, you're like Sundance winner short film narrative
Right.
category or whatever,
Hmm.
which is even cooler to put on your poster.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I know I've heard at least laurels give an excuse to post about your thing again, and it
Mm.
gets it out there more. So if you can leverage it on
Hmm.
the social media side and marketing side,
That's true. Like,
um,
give an update, and also even more like if you have a connection with someone that might be a little bit higher up, like to send an email, like hi, I saw you're working on this. Congrats, and by the way, I got this award at whatever.
yeah, yeah, it's great to put in your bio when you make that. Nice. Okay, cool. I think
So, are you oh,
go for it.
are you planning to make or what festivals are you thinking of,
For
and why? I mean, why the film festivals? Because you've already been able to make two features without any festivals.
Yeah, but they're babies. They're babies, and they're great. I mean, it's cool. Okay. So my plan is just because I've never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
Is a thing I just want to go through that. Okay, there's multiple answers. Whew. I like I said, there's a feature film, one that I shot in New Mexico. That one's called Chama Days. Um, that one we came together and made it for basically nothing. With everybody just gave their time, and we were desperate to make something early last year when the industry wasn't fully back yet. So I know for us, our intention was to make something awesome with awesome people, and then come home with a feature. And I was everybody was in a great position to kind of level up. So I was like, I've got a feature under my belt. The DP's been doing some awesome stuff. The actors have been around for a while. Let's all put our best in, and then let's try to sell this puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I found distribution for It's What's on the Inside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like I said, that wasn't, yeah. So this time around, the idea is go to fests and then do the standard plan. I know like Mark Duplass talks about this with the festival route, where if you are going to go for the big boys, like you kind of have the tier list. You have the top tier, so you submit it to like Tribeca and Sundance and South by and Cannes and or Con or however you want to pronounce it. And then once you either make it or get your sorry you didn't make it letters from all those, now you can open it up to the second tier and you submit to these guys, and then that's kind of like you just work your way down the list because those they want to have premieres, so you can't pre-screen at a different festival. You won't, yeah. So the idea is get accepted into Sundance and then screen it there, and then eyeballs get on it and people want to buy it, and then that's the way of getting it sold. Versus directly to, I guess, like pile up some credentials and hype it up a little bit. Is that idea? For the short, um, yeah, that one's more so of like a for fun. We'll see what happens. It's a proof of concept for a feature.
Mm-hmm.
So same kind of deal. If you can build up enough traction and excitement for it, maybe you can get money for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, to use that tone, I don't know why I use that tone on that, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, I want to try to aim for the big boys and see, because I know
Mm-hmm.
I've had plenty of filmmaker friends that have gotten into South by and Sundance and Tribeca, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're doing it! Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's attainable! Like, I know people. Like, that's
Right,
kind
right.
of feels more
Yeah.
chill a little bit that way.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely the goal. Would love to get into South by.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
being able to go to one of those festivals and say
Mm-hmm.
that you have something screening and getting
Mm-hmm.
to go to those meetups, like
Oh yeah.
that's just cool. So
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, as of late, those fests have been virtual only.
Right, right. Maybe
So
it's
I feel,
a good thing that we
I mean,
haven't submitted
exactly.
there, you
So
know.
fingers crossed that they figure it out. But yeah, I felt bad for some filmmaker friends as of late too, where
Yeah.
it's like they get accepted and then 2 weeks later it switches to virtual.
Mm-hmm. That's
It's
true.
sad,
Yeah.
but still they can leverage it. It's still, you can still put it on your resume. It's still a laurel.
That's true.
It's
Yeah.
just the networking
Oh
is
yeah,
killed.
that's the big part of film festivals. Definitely networking.
Yes.
Mhm.
Great. I think we're pretty much good. I don't know. I guess just for funsies, because I've had, okay, you are the third. Um, I had amazing shadows on on that last feature that I had. It was so cool. I had 5 people come shadow me. You were
Mhm.
one of, you were
I think
day
day 2.
day 2. I know you
Yeah,
came,
either 2 or
I
3.
think it was 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was 3. And you came in the morning and we did that bar scene right away.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Um, yeah, it was 7 day shoot. I had shadows for 5 days. I had Sabrina on first, and then Amaya, and now you, and then Amir.
Oh
Amir
yeah.
was a shadow. He
Oh
came out.
nice.
So I almost want to, like, I know like you joked about my program, my shadow program.
Mhm.
Um, I've have been half tempted to have like an Eddie Shadow meetup
Oh, nice,
social,
nice.
'cause all of you were so cool.
Yeah, you
Um,
you gotta keep that program going.
yes, yes, for the next one.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it was cool having you out. I know, I don't know, I guess this is more, I don't know, this is more for me than for any of you, but I'm always curious on like what you got from, I think we talked a little bit about it, but
Mhm.
what you pulled from that like crazy little day that we did on that.
Yeah, I think I now I wish I had my notes like
Yeah, you had a notebook with you, I was so impressed. That
Mhm.
was so cool.
Well, I just try to write things down to help me remember, but I think something you mentioned was like when you're talking with people on set as a director, especially like I think with talent, try to always crouch down.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Little things like that, little Eddie notes. No, that's right. Yeah, I love doing that.
hmm
It feels so good.
Yeah, that's really good. Like, just, more camaraderie. And I think, yeah, like one of my goals is to, just see more directors in action.
Right.
So that's why I really liked the experience. And I think I really liked how, you were very calm on set. Calm, but also uh, tried to provide a good energy, like positive, but also making sure like everyone was feeling good and reassuring people, which I think like sometimes as a director it can be easy to just focus on like, okay, what's the next thing, let's try to focus on the technical aspects but not really put in too much thought into like the people aspect. So yeah, I think that was probably my favorite thing about your directing style.
Okay, cool. I feel weird at fishing for compliments there. I'm gonna halt that segment. No, but because I knew you talked about this last set too a little bit, but because you're talking about, yeah, you mentioned some nice things about that already.
hmm
So yeah, so it was cool to have you out to shadow Amir, because I know Amir. I don't know if you guys chatted much at all prior to
Uh,
coming on, but
oh, you mean for the thing on
yeah,
Sunday, right?
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, not too much, just prepping some art stuff.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, because I know for him, uh, I feel like that was like his second short film
Oh,
experience.
okay. Uh-huh.
So I know he was nervous about certain things and all that kind of stuff,
Oh.
and
Okay,
what?
he didn't seem too nervous, so
Yeah,
that's good.
thought he did a good job keeping it
Yeah.
together, and
Oh yeah.
he was talking about by the end of the, cause we chatted a little bit afterwards. He was talking about how by the end of the day, like
Mhm.
his energy tank was kind of low, and
Oh
he
yeah.
was
Yeah.
struggling. Well,
That's always a challenge for me too, like because yeah, it does take a while to get used to like the long days and having energy.
yeah, keeping that same enthusiasm
Yeah,
for
that's
every
hard.
scene,
Yeah.
cause every scene matters,
Mhm.
and you have to have A plus ideas for every single thing. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're just like taxed, and
That's true. I'd had a long day previously, so my tank was getting drained. But that's also something that I am like, I need to prepare for that once I do a feature because that's like every day you're gonna be
yeah,
having those days, And it's not like I don't feel happy to be there, but sometimes I just get tired.
yeah.
It's like-
My advice that I take myself, well, I don't know. It depends on how much control you have too. If you're producing as well, or if you're uh, coming on solely as a director. But I know I like to push for the shorter days, which we didn't do shorter days on the 7 day one because that's crazy. But in New Mexico, I did 10-hour days, and that was
Mm,
lovely.
okay.
And then
Uh-huh.
I guess it's just mostly like I know sleep is important.
Yeah.
I script supervise a lot, so
Mm-hmm.
I sleep. regardless if I'm script supervising or if I'm directing, I'm like I gotta get my full sleep.
Mhm.
And I've been on many a project, even just like small 3-day ones, where
Mhm.
a director is dead by
Oh.
like day two,
Oh, really?
and because they take on it's a thing they've been building up to for
Oh,
years.
yeah,
So
yeah.
they try to give every waking moment to this thing. So they
Mhm.
stay up late the night before
Yeah,
prepping. They watch dailies. They
that's
chat with this. They have
true.
this
That's true.
conversation, and then they're gone. Like
Yeah.
it's not sustainable.
Mhm.
So I'm like, yep, I'm gonna sleep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's interesting because it's like I think on this feature it's also like very small budget, so it's like hard to balance like are we going to have enough time to get everything plus like short if it's like 10 instead of 12 hours, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, uh, it's all about prep.
Mhm. Yeah, that's for sure. And I
It's
think I also need to start eating healthier. That will help my energy level.
oh no.
Eddie disagrees.
What? Eating healthy?
Yeah.
You're talking about my sugar,
Yeah.
my sugar addiction?
Mhm.
Look, that's not I don't do that to stay awake. My body, it's an addition, it's just a treat. That's how I see it. The fact that I can't prevent myself from not eating it, that's beside the point. Yeah, no, I like to yeah, eating healthy is important. Maybe you could look into that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's I think that will help me. Mhm.
Yeah, health is important.
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, we talk about a lot. Great
Mhm.
conversation. Thanks for being on. Thanks for being a part.
Was it long enough?
It's plenty.
How
I
long
think
was
we've
it?
been doing good. We'll clock it at the end.
Okay.
I feel like we've been doing good.
Okay.
Um, I'll just recap again that you are currently crowdfunding towards through the blinds.
Yes.
That's
Uh-huh.
still live. Reminders that the campaign link, I'll include it in the description of the YouTube
Mhm.
video and also in the description of the podcast stuff. So go check that out. Awesome thing. And then you've got plenty of other stuff in the works too.
Mhm.
So for those that want to keep up, you want to plug your Instagram, maybe your website,
Oh
where people can
yeah.
find you.
So my Instagram is Jessica J Liu Liu, and my website is thejessicaliu.com.
That's right. It's kind of you had to put the on there.
Well,
It's a
yeah, I
bummer,
had
huh?
to
Oh well.
since it's a common name.
Lovely. All right. Well, that's the show. Leave a rating, like, subscribe, leave a comment. I don't know, all those things if you enjoyed. Um, that's it. Okay. Bye, everybody.